Emergency announcement and repeater frequency report. We have some important information to relay. This is a time we're at our worst and are facing some tough times to come. And infection attacks on the borders have climbed at this point to what can only be considered record levels. It's true that all hands are on deck at the moment, and we're looking for more to increase production of ammunition and support those supply lines. We need to keep a solid front if we're ever going to withstand this push by the infected. The threat level at this time is still high, and it's expected to stay high. As temperatures climb, scientists are now saying this helps the infected and helps their movement. It may in some ways stir them up. There's a lot of things that are going on that we've seen massive movements that could also be like a domino effect. Scientists are still researching this and trying to get an idea of when to expect attacks, almost like weather fronts, so that we can make areas better equipped to be able to defend themselves or know when these attacks are coming. And surveillance is always on the move, but obviously concerns of moving attack choppers and other things into areas that would tell us what is going on. We don't want to exacerbate the problem, so it's important to have secondary options, as well as lookouts. Any forward intelligence is important, so have all your shelters bring that together. And we have seen massive attacks on settlements, especially in the north and center areas, and we do ask that all centers increase security. Be aware of anyone promoting the infection, and that's correct. Be aware of anyone that is promoting the infection. These people are actively trying to enter centers to infect people, to spread this infection more and to do more internal damage. It's happened multiple times. I think we've been able to get ahead of it, but it's going to be key for the future to make sure we don't have any centers fall to this illness. And these people should be considered basically armed and dangerous in more ways than just being armed. Many of them carry ways of spreading the infection that we're not relevantly clear of at this time. We're also hearing the military and militia personnel in the zones are being shot at by survivors. These are possibly rogue militias or people who haven't gotten any information out for some time and are stuck in areas without any ability to know that any rescue efforts are available. We just want everyone to understand that these military units are there to help, and any way you can get this information out to people is important. They're trying to rescue people and have been forced to avoid areas where individuals are actively requesting rescue or may have problems with lacking supplies. We're concerned about things like starvation, a lack of water, lack of food, lack of adequate medical conditions. And the point is to get these guys the supplies that they need, and to have them be suppressed is unfortunate. They're putting their lives on the line to help people, to have people that they're helping pushing back. So if you're firing on military or militia teams, you need to stop. Unless there's a clear threat, and that's how this works, people. If someone attacks you, feel free to defend yourself. But if you are the attacker, the units can engage, and our goal is not to eradicate our own people. We're in the middle of the dead walking the earth, folks. I think there's a bigger problem than a 100-yard square makeshift shelter that somebody's protecting with, possibly 4 to 6 members of a fire team walking through. I mean, these teams have the ability to get you food, by the way, so there's things that we can, supplies, medical, that we can get you if you really are in a position, but firing on them is not advised. So if you can get information out to anybody out here that's saying stuff, let it be known that they're in this for the right thing. We're facing some big time adversity here, and any help you can get us would be great. So if you can stop working against us, that would be exceptionally helpful. One of the shelters in Oklahoma is also reporting a potential serial killer that rescued a survivor a few weeks ago, and they're now reporting that this person is missing, and they're finding people who are victims of various attacks, usually knife-oriented, so soundless. This one survivor went up missing a short time after being rescued, and along with that, multiple residents went missing there right after. So they've connected the dots very well on the attack and have all the information. So if you're in that area and they're asking everyone to keep an eye out for anything that you may seem unusual, to travel in groups, to, even though that you're in a center now, do not feel yourself as completely safe. You're just in another type of community, and to be aware of situations that could possibly endanger yourself. The Oklahoma shelter is in its very early stages of growth. I need to make that a point, and if I'm being frank, they didn't really need this threat right now, but part of that growing is to be able to better react to a threat, which put them at a weak point, made them a little bit more susceptible to this kind of thing. So we do expect them to build right back up and to be able to get ahead of this, but for now we are looking for help. And the good thing is military police are in place, so if you need help, they're there to help you, but we're hoping that this threat is mitigated in a quick way. Also, a big setback occurred towards Georgia as these big storm fronts have moved in. They've resulted in a lot of damage, heavy winds, massive rain, flooding. It's blocking much of the rescue efforts that are moved into the state, including Atlanta. People are reporting saying that there's a great deal of survivors in that area, but at this time they've been unable to reach them. The original plan was to use helicopters to drop people in to go into those areas, but that's since been considered far too dangerous. There are reports of multiple military secret bases as well in the southern part of Georgia as well as Florida, and they are not receiving information at the border, or even they may not even know that any of this, that what we're doing exists, and they're considered trapped without communication. So they've gotten little or no information, no way of knowing when people are coming or what's going on. So much of the area has lost that communication. There's many of the repeaters that went down during the storm before, so those have definitely been damaged to the point of inoperable. So a lot of that area may believe that they are alone in what we consider a perished world. So if you can get this information through, and you're in that area, and you do have some sort of shortwave radio signal that could get to them, that would be great. We need something larger. But whatever you do, don't go into that area if you are able to avoid it as well. The dangers there are big, and that really brings me to the next point. The same problem that's happening at the border, especially in our centers, is an even bigger problem, which is in Florida. The flooding and the damage to these areas has stirred up the Zeds in much of the area to the south. It's all considered at this point a no-go area. Infected individuals are simply walking the streets, and a mix of dangerous animals and infective mixed together in what could be considered a petri dish of danger. Several rescue missions were already canceled before even the initial flood started, and now they may be seen as virtually impossible. One reconnaissance mission sent back horrifying images of what we described as millions of these things walking the streets of different areas, and it was like ants. It was a zoo that was stirred up. The only places really clear of them were in areas like swamps, anything with high vegetation or animal life those are potentially devouring these things, and there's no idea what that could be doing to the wildlife there either. And scientists really want to get ahead of this to understand what kind of ecosystem Florida is now becoming because of this. And we know that there are people that are still in these areas and somehow surviving. There are some sort of communications getting through, but for the most part, any of the long-range stuff has just virtually failed. Everything that goes in does not basically go beyond anything beyond Atlanta, some in Louisiana, but definitely not Florida. Florida at this point has become somewhat of an island. The only good news is rescue missions in Tennessee, Virginia, North Carolina, and those surrounding areas seem to be going according to plan. It's possible we may have 2 new shelter areas being erected in the central states. and providing any good supply line once they can be established will be exceptional news. Military teams are relaying that they hope to secure Norfolk Naval Base, as well as the Norfolk in general, where they want to erect a center to especially connected to the sea and begin to reach out with oceanic missions. The boats in the areas are actually well kept, and we're hearing that those that took to the ocean, some are doing well, but they're in bad need of supplies. As excursions to lands have become more and more limited, more and more dangerous, making them kind of last supplies a little bit longer. But given a stable base of operation, it would be an easy place for them to land, resupply, and head back out if need be, and begin to basically make water-based rescue missions, as well as to go up and down the coast to see what sort of supply lines that we already have in motion. And that could mean very good things for those in Florida as well, providing another escape route for those that are stuck in the state. Communications at this point we have to add is key. We've discussed how we're replacing battery power for generator power in many areas. There are some who are building kits, things to make changeover from any sort of battery system to a generator system so that people can continue to keep their communication going. And we're stressing things like ethanol fuel, which is becoming sort of a new norm because it can be processed, but we really haven't stressed that as gas dies out, that this is an easy way to make fuel that can run in existing combustion systems or with old gas to provide ways to power communication structures. And once we can get that fuel back to those that don't have it, we'll be doing very well. And another suggestion is diesel and biofuels. Diesel, very strong, easy to repair, which are effectively even easier to make. There's tons of options to run generators or power sources because of the primary concern we're running into is basically lack of communication. And to do that, we need power, and we need radio towers and other things that are going to keep everybody in touch with each other. Communication is becoming one of our biggest, if not number one problem in giving out instructions of what we're doing, how we're doing it. We're trying to keep a lot of transparency out there because it's key for people to be rescued to have some form of communication. And with battery sources running out, things are just, they're getting old and they're going to start dying, and we need separate ways of doing that. And there are people out there right now that already have kits and things they've built to help people get that communication running. And the other thing is making sure that we thank them for all their hard work of putting things together, especially those who are doing their best to keep that communication running. We need to keep these lines open, and having radio towers working is going to be key to that. It's not going to be long before we're going to have to start pushing back on the infected. That's going to be a primary concern right now because we can't simply wait at borders and wait for them to come because their numbers are too great. We've seen they aren't going to wait. They have no problem pushing back, and they can't be negotiated with. They aren't going to give up, and their forces are in the millions, and they are, for lack of a better description, headed our way. They are doing this out of some sort of system that maybe it's food, maybe it's instinct, maybe it's just the infection trying to spread itself. We don't know the true nature behind it, but the idea is that they will come for us if we do not mount some sort of aggression. So stay vigilant. And my honest opinion is, as problems mount, to start pushing back. Do not wait for things to come to you. These things do not have battle plans. They can be attacked when they're weak, and a lot of times what the problem we had before was that they were in a weaker position and allowed us to mount the defenses that we have, thankfully, to be able to push back. But for other areas, they may not have that luck, and we just want to make them aware. And to do that, we need to get them communication so we can start making them aware of when these herds, if you will, move towards areas and they know where to defend themselves or where to do or what to do, and are able to advise people how to take that action. Some are discussion, by the way, of elections at this point, and we want to get out to those areas that say, as we begin to rebuild some sort of government structure, those people have to be able to have an opportunity to make their voices heard as well. And to do that, we're going to be able to do that through communication. And I don't want to talk about politics more than I have to, but maybe that can be the answer to mustering folks to take action against this and be able to get us connected again. There are things out there right now that we know that we're literally sweeping under the rug because we don't have time to discuss these issues or even to assign any way of solving other issues because we're becoming stressed and strained on the primary thing of rebuilding our society, if you will, or civilization. So that's the thing is we got a lot of things. Communication is going to be key, and basically pushing back is going to be the other. Some of these rescue teams have started that, but they are not the forces that we need right now. Putting together these military personnel and starting to push back is going to be a primary concern, and it's a possibility that right now we may be in that situation where things are going to start turning around. We hope. So stay tuned for more updates on the world and the hope that we will rebuild in the future.
Warning, an attack is imminent. All personnel to defense stations. Warning, an attack is imminent. All personnel to defense stations. Warning, an attack is imminent. All personnel to defense stations. Warning, an attack is imminent. All personnel to defense